The transmission begins as silence thickens across the void. Then a voice, ancient, resonant, godlike, fills every channel across the galaxy. Erase them. The command is not shouted, yet it echoes through billions of minds. The Galactic King, sovereign of 10,000 worlds, decrees humanity's end. He speaks not in rage, but in divine certainty, as if ordering gravity itself to obey. They spread chaos. They infect order. The species called human will be removed from my creation. His voice is law, his will enforced by fleets that eclipse stars. The decree carries across every sector, extinction, complete and absolute. Within the chambers of the King's Council, the generals kneel. Their bodies are varied, scaled, crystalline, mechanical, but their reverence is uniform. One, an admiral whose mind spans 100 ships, dares to ask, "Why this species, Majesty? Their worlds are ashes already." The king turns his blazing gaze toward him. Because they refuse surrender. Because they fight as though death is a weapon. They spread contagion, hope. Around him, silence deepens. Hope, in this empire, is treason. The king raises a hand, and distant stars shift to form a symbol, an execution mark over a blue world long since burned. Finish what we began. Across the broken remains of the Sol system, humanity breathes in fragments. Earth is a mirror of glass, oceans boiled into steam that drifts as frozen shards. Mars, once a refuge, is silent rubble. But not all light is gone. Hidden among debris fields, inside hollow asteroids and dead freighters, remnants of humanity whisper across encrypted channels. No faces, only voices. Each signal carries an echo of defiance, laughter, static, an old song fragment broadcast from the 21st century. These fragments are humanity's heartbeat, uneven, weak, but alive. In a small command module drifting beyond Neptune's shadow, Captain Eli Ward listens. His synthetic arm hums quietly as he calibrates the damaged receiver. The man's face is lined with exhaustion, yet his eyes burn with the same intensity that once built civilizations. The intercepted message arrives, crackling, the king's decree, clear and cold. Eli listens to every word, the arrogance, the finality. When it ends, he exhales a breath that sounds like steel grinding against stone. "So that's how it is," he mutters. His second-in-command asks, "Orders, sir?" Eli stares into the abyss outside the viewport. We respond. He activates a pirate transmitter, an ancient Earth model rebuilt from scrap. It has no encryption, no stealth. He wants them to hear. Static fills the void, and then his voice cuts through, calm and human. "To the one calling himself king, message received. Challenge accepted." 6 words carried by fragile radio waves, yet they travel further than any fleet. The alien communication networks light up within minutes. The message replicates, distorted, retranslated, mocked, and then feared. Somewhere, an enslaved miner on a distant moon whispers it to his kin. On another world, an alien child asks his mother, "What is a human?" And she shivers before answering. The words become contagion again. Hope resurrects. Across the ruins, hidden outposts come alive. Old ships power on, their engines coughing plasma. Engineers solder wires with hands shaking from hunger. Soldiers who once abandoned ranks now carve insignias back onto their armor. Each knows the odds, none expects to live. Yet something changes. For the first time since Earth fell, humans stop running. The king's perfect order begins to tremble. In the depths of his throne world, the Galactic King listens to that human transmission. The voice is coarse, mortal, insignificant, and yet it disturbs him. There is no fear in it. Only resolve. He orders new fleets built, larger than before. "Find that voice," he commands. "Erase it from the stars." But the voice is already everywhere. Captain Ward closes the transmission line, power reserves nearly gone. Around him, the ship's crew waits in silence. They understand what they've done. They've declared war on a god. Eli stands, gaze fixed on the stars beyond the glass. "He thinks we're done," he says softly. "Let's prove him wrong." The engines ignite, scattering light across the void. Somewhere, in the cold heart of the galaxy, the first war of extinction begins again, not between conqueror and conquered, but between arrogance and defiance. And for the first time in 1,000 years, the universe remembers why humans were feared. They refused to die. The stars once burned with arrogance, now they flicker with human defiance. The king's decree was meant to erase a species, but instead, it awakens something buried deep within them, a ferocity that refuses logic. In the silence after Eli Ward's challenge, old transmitters hum again. Hidden colonies answer. Across the wreckage of forgotten stations, humans stir like ghosts remembering their bodies. They rebuild, not from strength, but from necessity. Their fleets are patchwork miracles, alien scrap fused with human stubbornness. Engines powered by stolen cores. Weapons improvised from mining lasers and reactor coils. What they lack in perfection, they compensate with unpredictability. Eli commands the Black Horizon, a fleet invisible to the Empire's sensors because it should not exist. Their ships run on chaos, mismatched tech, erratic signal emissions, and a refusal to follow patterns. Every encounter becomes an experiment. One day, they lure an armada into a collapsing gas giant, using the planet's magnetic storms as camouflage. Another, they trick an enemy AI into firing on its own allies through deliberate human error, the kind machines can't simulate. They adapt faster than the king's fleets can react, not because they are superior, but because they are desperate. Humans begin to strike back in whispers. Mining drones hijack supply convoys. Cargo manifests change mid-transmission. The Empire's perfect logistics dissolve into paranoia. Fleets hesitate, uncertain whether an asteroid hides a bomb or a broken beacon. The king's generals demand logic. None is found. Every battle feels like shadowboxing with madness. What they do not understand is that madness has always been humanity's greatest weapon. On a derelict moon, Eli's forces seize their first alien dreadnought. It is colossal, beautiful, built by a species that worship perfection. Humans desecrate it instantly, tearing out its symmetry, reprogramming its systems with code that disobeys itself. The ship becomes a floating paradox. They call it Nemesis. From its bridge, Eli studies fragments of alien archives recovered from its databanks, records of past conquests, entire civilizations erased, their histories rewritten as failures. Humanity was simply next in line. He sees faces of extinct species, all proud, all gone. The files end with a single note from the king's scribes. Perfection requires cleansing. Eli doesn't rage. He laughs. Then let's be the filth he can't clean. That line spreads faster than his name. Across a dozen sectors, human cells adopt it as a creed. Graffiti blooms across alien walls, crude human script spelling unclean and unbowed. The phrase terrifies more than any fleet. It means extinction failed. The king's court trembles. His advisors report impossible statistics, casualty ratios inverted, colonies rebelling, allies defecting. His empire begins to fracture under the pressure of one species that should have been ash. The king deploys his ultimate countermeasure, the psycho-oracles, entities that see every future. Yet even they falter. Every path predicting human defeat collapses. Probability itself bends. Their reports end with a phrase that confuses even them. Human variables exceed containment. Eli's operations grow bolder. In the heart of a nebula, he transmits another message. The words are simple, heavy with controlled fury. You call yourself a god. We've killed gods before. You just didn't call them human. That broadcast is outlawed within hours, but it cannot be contained. The galaxy hears it. Species long enslaved whisper it in the dark. The king's divine image begins to crack. Each victory costs humanity dearly. Entire crews vanish to make a single strike succeed. Yet no one begs for survival. Each death feels earned, deliberate, meaningful. They are building something larger than life, a legacy of defiance written in debris. For the first time, the Empire realizes it faces not a dying race, but an idea. Eli stares at the stars, their light fractured through the Nemesis's viewport. Every flare, Every spark feels like a pulse. Humanity's pulse. It's faint but endless. He knows the war is far from won, but for the first time since Earth burned, the universe itself seems to hesitate, as if it, too, has begun to wonder what happens when gods meet men who refuse to kneel. The Empire bleeds quietly at first, disbelief disguising the wound. Entire sectors fall out of communication. Fleets dispatched to crush human insurgents vanish without trace, their wreckage found orbiting shattered moons. What began as rebellion evolves into strategy. Humanity stops reacting, it begins orchestrating. Each ambush feels deliberate, each retreat timed to perfection. Alien commanders argue over impossible data. The humans should be extinct, yet every loss seems part of something larger. The Black Horizon becomes myth. Rumors describe its movements as if it were alive, appearing from nothing, devouring ships, disappearing into void. Some claim it navigates through wormholes thought unstable, others swear it travels through the memory of dead stars. None know the truth, it is Eli Ward's will stitched into steel and defiance. Every pilot under his command knows the cost. Every death fuels the legend. Fear becomes their camouflage. Eli studies the patterns of alien communication. The king's fleets move with mechanical predictability, every maneuver rehearsed. Humans inject chaos into that rhythm. They hack broadcast channels not to disable them but to confuse. One command to retreat merges with another to attack. Armadas turn on themselves in perfect obedience to false orders. The Empire's own order collapses under the weight of its perfection. For the first time in millennia, its fleets hesitate. In the darkness between systems, the human fleet regroups. They are exhausted, running on fumes and fury. Yet their morale grows stronger as the Empire weakens. Engineers carve symbols of Earth onto hulls, a language the aliens can't translate, a circle, a line, a spark, Earth, humanity, hope. The galaxy begins to notice. Conquered species observe the humans with a mixture of awe and terror. They do not understand the source of such will, but they recognize its power. Whispers spread that perhaps gods can die. The king watches from his throne world, surrounded by advisors who no longer meet his gaze. He has ruled through fear, yet now he feels its edge for the first time. Reports arrive hourly, rebellions erupting in slave sectors, defectors joining the human cause. The king's fleets remain vast, but they are divided by mistrust. The concept of failure, once unthinkable, becomes a contagion. He summons his psycho-oracles. They show him futures collapsing into static. The humans are no longer a variable, they are an anomaly. His fury shakes the void. He vows to end them personally. Meanwhile, Eli records transmissions meant not for strategy but for memory. His voice is rough, measured, immortal. We're not fighting to live. We're fighting to prove we were worth remembering. The message circulates through human channels and beyond. Alien freedom cells replay it as a rallying cry. The idea of humanity transforms from species to myth. No one knows if Eli survives each battle, yet his voice continues to guide the war. A decisive strike approaches. Intelligence reveals the location of an imperial citadel, a fortress world where the king's enforcers control the network linking his fleets. Destroying it would cripple command across half the galaxy. The plan borders on insanity, but insanity is what the humans have mastered. They approach hidden within the wreckage of captured ships, masquerading as one of the Empire's own convoys. When they arrive, they unleash fury. Nuclear fire, electromagnetic storms, code viruses, every weapon born of desperation. The citadel burns. Communication lines fracture across the Empire. As the last transmission fades, human banners, simple markings of Earth's oceans and sky, appear on alien broadcasts across 1,000 systems. The king's armies begin to cannibalize themselves without centralized control. Planets once obedient rise up. For the first time in history, the Galactic Empire retreats. The humans do not cheer. They know victory is only temporary. Eli stands aboard the Nemesis, watching distant explosions bloom like dying stars. He knows what follows victory, retaliation. But in that moment, as the galaxy trembles, He allows himself one thought: humanity has already won something greater than survival. They have forced the universe to remember their defiance. The Empire's fall has begun, and the name human will outlive both king and crown. The galaxy convulses under the weight of the king's fury. Every defeat, every rebellion, has carved into his pride like acid through glass. His empire once moved with divine rhythm, now it stumbles, bleeding from unseen cuts. He watches systems fall one by one, and behind every loss echoes that same voice, human, insolent, unyielding. Rage consumes his reason. He will not delegate this war to fleets or oracles any longer. He will end it himself. From his throne world, the king descends, encased in living armor that bends light and space around him. His very presence warps reality. He crosses the void toward the soul remnant, a system long dead but never silent. He speaks across every channel simultaneously. You wounded a god. Now you will burn with your world. His arrival darkens suns. Fleets of unimaginable scale surround him, each vessel the size of continents. Yet humanity does not scatter. Eli Ward stands aboard the Nemesis, body failing after years of war, voice steady. His crew awaits his command, knowing it may be their last. He transmits one signal through the old pirate network, the same frequency that began it all. Challenge still stands. It spreads instantly, reborn as battle cry. Across the ruins of human colonies and liberated worlds, ships power up, engines screaming defiance. Defectors from alien races join them, united not by species but by rebellion. The war that began with extinction now becomes something greater, the universe rising against its false god. The king's armada converges. The first strikes vaporize entire fleets. Radiation storms paint space with death. Yet humanity answers with relentless counterfire. Nuclear detonations ripple through the void, primitive but effective. Where one human ship falls, two more emerge from debris fields. They target command nodes, cut off coordination, sow confusion. Machines falter because they cannot comprehend a battle fought without logic. The king watches with disbelief as inferior vessels pierce through his defenses through sheer unpredictability. He directs his will toward the Nemesis. Energy lances shatter its shields, melt its hull, yet the ship keeps advancing. Eli reroutes power from life support to weapons. His pulse weakens, but his purpose sharpens. Through the static, his final command echoes. All batteries, on me! The Nemesis drives straight into the king's formation, guns blazing until circuits burn. The king's voice fills every mind within reach, thunderous and enraged. You think to defy creation itself? Eli's reply comes through the storm, almost calm. No. We're just reminding you you're not it. He boards the king's flagship through wreckage and fire. His armor barely holds together, the synthetic arm flickers with failing power. Inside, he moves through corridors carved from living crystal, each surface pulsing with alien consciousness. The king awaits him at the core, a being of light and hatred, radiating power that bends time. They face each other without words at first. The king regards him as one might a stubborn insect. You have nothing left. No planet. No people. Only death. Eli steps closer, eyes steady. Then that's all I need. The king strikes, reality fracturing under his hand. Eli endures, each blow shattering bone and metal. He fights with nothing left but instinct, closing the distance inch by inch. The king cannot understand him. Power should have ended this long ago. But humans have always thrived in the impossible. Eli grips the reactor core embedded in his armor, a miniature son of annihilation. You wanted our extinction, he says, forcing a smile through blood. Here it is. Brought to you personally. He detonates the core. Light devours everything. The explosion erases sound, shape, divinity. When it fades, the king's fleet is gone, his throne world silenced. Only radiation and fragments remain, scattered like ashes in eternal night. The empire trembles, its gods slain by a mortal who refused to kneel. In that silence, the universe holds its breath. Humanity may have perished, but its final act has rewritten the laws of fear. The king's empire no longer whispers of perfection, it whispers of a name carried on light, Eli Ward. Silence reigns after the storm. The king's death leaves a void deeper than the space he once ruled. His empire fractures overnight. Worlds that once sang hymns to his glory now burn his banners. Fleets drift without command, their pilots questioning purpose for the first time in millennia. Across the galaxy, whispers spread like wildfire, the god is dead. No announcement is made, no official decree issued, yet every being feels it. The oppressive hum that once bound their minds fades, replaced by something unfamiliar, freedom. Humanity's presence remains only in fragments. Scattered transmissions, drifting wreckage, faint heat signatures on forgotten worlds. The nemesis is gone, the black horizon disbanded by destruction. No confirmed survivors. But amid the ashes, relics emerge. A damaged probe drifts through the void near a dead star, its memory core still intact. Inside is a single transmission labeled Ward Last. It begins without fanfare, his voice low, weathered, human. If you're hearing this, we didn't make it. That's fine. We never fought for forever. We fought so no one else would have to bow again. The message spreads faster than any fleet once could. Every liberated world rebroadcasts it. His words, simple and unpolished, become a declaration of existence. Species that once feared the humans now honor them. Statues rise where human boots never touched ground. The image of a broken soldier standing before a fallen crown becomes the symbol of resistance across the stars. Even those who never saw a human begin to use their name as a verb, to human meaning to defy the impossible. Alien scholars piece together the war from fragments, burned data cores, half-corrupted logs, intercepted transmissions. They study humans like a myth rediscovered. What confounds them most is not humanity's technology, but its absurd persistence. They find no logical reason for a dying species to fight a god and win. Yet the evidence is undeniable, a divine empire destroyed by mortals who refuse surrender. The scholars conclude that humanity's strength lay not in power, but in rejection of inevitability, of hierarchy, of despair. Centuries pass. Empires rise from the rubble, built on new ideals forged in that war. Where once the Galactic King's image adorned every cathedral, now murals of the Nemesis adorn those same walls, painted by hands that never knew Earth. Pilots whisper Eli Ward's final phrase before battle. Challenge accepted, turning it into a universal oath. The phrase becomes ritual, a reminder that the measure of worth is not victory but defiance itself. Somewhere in a remote archive, an alien historian records the first unified chronicle of humanity. The opening line reads, "They were small, fragile, brief, and yet they changed the meaning of forever." Each chapter is reconstructed from alien perspectives: soldiers who fought them, slaves they freed, machines they broke. Every account ends the same way, with awe. Humanity ceased to exist, yet their idea infected reality itself. No longer a species, they have become a principle woven into the logic of the cosmos, the refusal to accept limits. On a world far from any map, an ancient satellite still orbits, powered by decaying energy cells. It projects a faint holographic image, a blue planet that once existed. Children gather beneath it, listening to old stories of the beings who came from there. They are told humans were monsters and saviors, destroyers and liberators, all at once. They laugh, not understanding how something so contradictory could be real. Their elders smile, because that contradiction is precisely why it was. In the void where the king once reigned, a cluster of newborn stars ignites. From afar, their arrangement resembles a silhouette: broad shoulders, clenched fists, head unbowed. No one planned it. No god sculpted it. The galaxy simply remembers. When navigators pass that region, they call it the Ward Belt. Its light reaches every corner of the stars the king once claimed as his own. Humanity's story ends not with survival, but with permanence. Their bodies are gone, yet their defiance endures in every rebel act, every question asked against authority, every creature that dares to rise when told to kneel. The universe, once ruled by silence, now hums with their echo. They wanted to erase the humans. Instead, they became the measure of what it means to exist.